open the meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission for December 19th, 2018. The first hearing we have is a request for determination of applicability for the Tribush property at 64 Depot Road, addition of a new deck and minor grading. This project has asked for a continuance until January 2nd, 2019. So I move that we have that continuance until that date.
Second.
Seconded by Jim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Second hearing is a request for change in plans for Steve Walsh, 9 Fiddler's Landing.
John, if you want to use maybe that other black chair to prop your plan up, I don't have a noodle here, so I
Yeah, well, let's just do this. I expected to be the large.
sorry. Every other time. Yeah.
That's it. I got a couple of these to show off what's happening here.
Thank you.
It's just colored in.
It's just colored.
Better visual.
The better visual, yeah, I like to do that, so he just...
It's bigger too.
For the record, is it on?
There.
They're on. Okay. For the record, I'm John Schneibel, Coastal Engineering, representing Steve Walsh and his family. I don't know if you've been to the site before, but it's, some ongoing construction with the home itself, and they've been kind of going back and forth on the on the deck, or actually the patio. And you guys had previously approved this on July 20th of this year, and quickly, I gave a little summary on everything about as far as construction. Home was originally constructed in 1970. Again, there's the resource areas, the coastal bank, the land under ocean, this coastal bank, etc. And what they're hoping to do is actually making the patio smaller, kind of moving it over a little bit. You'll see it on that plan. In purple is what was originally approved, and then what they're proposing. And it is much smaller. Again, the original patio size that you guys approved was 1,290 square feet, and we've reduced it to 989 square feet, and they've reduced some of the stepping stones. So essentially, instead of 112 square feet of stepping stones, there would be 32 square feet. We're keeping the French drain, the patio French drain, and we have a simplified planting plan is in the front of the home, and then the mitigation plantings have been reduced to kind of reflect what the patio size is, but we'll still have more than 450 square feet of mitigation plantings beyond the amount required by the commission. And essentially that 5-foot buffer along the coastal bank and the bulkhead and so forth, that's all been kept. So and that's really the project. So again, it's a reduction, and hopefully you guys will look at that and approve it.
Thank you. Any comments for us, Amy?
Couple quick comments. It is a reduction from what we had originally approved. The project did require a variance for work in the 0 to 50-foot buffer. They had provided what the commission felt was adequate mitigation, and the commission saw, it was a reduction in the manicured lawn. So the area where as they are doing less hardscape, they're asking to do less mitigation planting, they're still over the 3-to-1 mitigation required for any additional hardscape in the 0 to 50-foot buffer. It's the southeast, pretty much the south corner of the house, of the lot, where some of the mitigation was dropped, and that's the area that has pitch pines.
Pitch pines, correct. Yep.
Those are proposed to stay.
Proposed to stay. Yep. Yep. There's no change there.
So I think they still meet meet the variance standards. There's less hardscape here. Thought it was acceptable as a change. And the only change I would make is that to take Strike Beach Rosa Rugosa off. We're getting away from Rugosa.
Okay,
We're doing kind of strictly Virginia and Carolina, just because Rugosa tends to be a little bit
aggressive,
aggressive.
yeah.
So that is the planting area, area 2 mitigation, kind of near the dock. Or basically anywhere where Rugosa is noted, change it to Virginia. Carolina.
We can change that, sure.
That's pretty simple.
Yep.
I recommend approval of the change there. Oh, and when we on-site today, we noticed there really should kind of be a limit of workup. They're moving dirt around in the backyard. It's a little unstable.
Okay,
So a limit of work established. They're almost to the shrub line.
really?
Yeah.
Really, okay.
With machinery back there.
Yeah, I'm surprised Rob, yeah, okay.
I mean, it's not eroding down the bank or anything,
Right.
but it's
Yep.
exposed dirt back there.
So we need some kind of siltation barrier there.
Yeah, I think in that case, just a staked trench silt fence would do fine. It's pretty
Yeah.
flat. I don't think you need the roll.
Right. So silt barrier, yep.
Thanks, Amy. Questions from the commissioners? Jim, do you want to start?
Yes. On this little map here.
Yep.
Sorry. Is this gonna be a mitigation planting? Is that 5-foot strip or?
Just a
gonna-
5-foot strip,
It's
right.
gonna continue right to the lot
Correct,
line
and it's
then?
gonna go around the corner, right, yeah.
Okay, I see that. yeah.
Yep.
All right. Amy, do you have the order of conditions? Did this get, what did it get for lawn regulations?
This was kind of when we hadn't adopted the new ones yet, so I mean, we haven't formally adopted the new ones yet. No pesticides or herbicides are permitted in the resource area or buffer zone. Any lawn area within the 100-foot buffer zone is to be comprised of a native grass seed mix such as the Harmony mix. The lawn on the property is to be converted to an organic lawn care program as specified in the Conservation Commission's Wetlands Protections Regulations. The commission shall be provided with a copy of the contract between the homeowner and the lawn care company to verify the organic program. The existing underground irrigation system is not to be expanded upon.
Okay. So it'll be, rather than mitigation planting, it'll essentially be a natural lawn there.
Well, I'm hoping underneath the tree area where it is, that would be an expansion of lawn because that was Virginia creeper there prior, which it looks like that's been nipped away.
Okay, I haven't
But that
been,
area is still underneath there. Whatever was natural should remain natural.
right. Yeah, I don't think
That
that,
area underneath the trees in that corner shouldn't become lawn.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's all I have. Thanks.
okay.
I don't really have any questions other than the fact that we are expecting a huge rainstorm on Friday. And there
So I
was-
better tell him first thing tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of loose
I'll
dirt,
call
real
Rob.
close.
I'll call Rob, yeah, I don't know, I'm surprised.
Yeah, actually, I forgot about that.
He's usually right on top of things like that.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. They're normally,
All right,
yeah, it's not a big deal because of the slope, but if we're gonna get a
Moving patio
downpour.
into this space here.
yep.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
really understanding
No comments
Stan,
at this point.
comments? John? You all set? Okay. I've got a couple.
Sure.
In the pink shading here where the patio footprint is this shading here going to be patio?
No, that's what was approved.
Okay, so it's,
All the pink is what was originally approved, and then what's underneath that is what's approved, what we're hoping to get approval tonight for. So,
Okay.
so that is, quite a bit larger. You can, I kind of just showed, wanted to show that to you guys so you could see, like, you can see that there is a dramatic difference as far as.
yep. And this is being reduced here as well? or-
That's being added. That kind of pushed it, they pushed that that part of the patio down that way.
Yep.
Yep.
And so once again, what is the square footage reduction?
It's 300 square feet.
Yep, reduction.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I guess the only thought is it something we want to talk about by having a condition in this amendment to not have that area that is presently the Pines?
I'm gonna put it in
Yeah,
as
so-
as a condition on the amendment.
Okay, so that would,
Or on the change, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'll make a note.
yeah,
Yep. Yeah, I could put a note on the plan, make sure that it's not.
That would be great, the previously shaded mitigation area there.
Yep, yep. Yeah, maybe,
It was natural, just kind of ground covers in there.
yeah, keep area natural, yeah, yeah.
do we want to have like a footprint actually noted in the order?
I think if maybe John can submit a plan basically that looks like that did.
We'll just cloud out that
area.
We'll
Right.
cloud the area and say,
Put a note to say area
be
to
natural-
remain natural.
naturalized, yeah.
Yep, it was something that was discussed quite a bit in the course of granting the variance.
Right.
And it does make sense to, if they wish to scale it back, it does make sense, but we wouldn't want to see it go further and then have it become manicured lawn right there.
Right.
So, okay. Well, I think if anyone wants to propose a motion to move forward.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for change in plans for 9 Fiddler's Landing with the conditions we just discussed.
A second.
Seconded by Stan, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Can you talk about it in the next week?
Christmas.
And the next week, after, or whatever.
How about, yeah, somewhere in that range. How about January, maybe 2nd or something?
Yeah, it's actually, it's not an amendment or anything, so it's,
Yeah.
the plan change, so they just can't. Yeah, they can't,
I'm not doing anything anyway for a while. It's kind of rough weather.
Big rainstorm.
Things and all that,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, they're saying 2 to 3 inches, they're saying.
Here.
Yeah, here,
That's what I heard tonight.
I do too.
Great.
And
And wind.
60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yay.
And 55 degrees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so.
Okay, next we have a notice of intent for the Stevens property at 19 Wacquasit Road, proposal to cover a patio.
Good evening.
Hi.
Arlene Wilson, A.M. Wilson Associates, here for the Stevens. As Mr. Chase noted, all this entails is putting some post supports in the existing sitting wall on the patio and putting a roof over that. No screens, no walls, no increase in hardscape. There's an existing drainage system that picks up the drainage from the patio floor. The roof drainage will be piped into that system. There won't be any more runoff entering the system because what would have fallen on the floor will now fall on the roof. So it's a tit for tat sort of thing. No alterations on the ground at all. Materials will be delivered to the site and initially put in the existing masonry driveway, hand carried to the patio. All the work will be by hand.
Thank you. Amy, any thoughts?
Yeah. First, I think there may have been a little confusion on our end, and I apologize for that. When we first were speaking with you about this, it was both myself and Nikki's interpretation that this was going to be more like a 3-season room, and that's why. And so I apologize for that. This is very, I think, approvable, so long as it does not become formal living space, as long as it remains a covered patio, again, with no screening walls, just new posts for the roof, and as long as the roof runoff is taken care of and infiltrated, I don't see any issue. Went to the site, and again, everything is looking very good out there from the previous time. So I have no questions, and again, apologize for the misinterpretation.
There actually is in the, under the State Wetlands
Yeah.
Act, a form
Right.
that you can use to say there isn't any impact even though it's a notice of intent. To be honest with you, I haven't seen one of those forms in at least 20 years,
Really good one, yeah.
but, you know, if you actually issue a notice, then we have to be back here for search and all of that stuff, but I would understand it's such an unusual procedure.
Sorry, it was,
that.
may have just been a misunderstanding on our end.
Those things happen.
Okay, any comments, commissioners, do you want to start?
Sure. Amy, were you able to check the order of conditions to see about the planting beds?
Have them here, and
Previous,
you have to
yeah.
check that, let me check real quick. Actually, no, I don't have that one here with me.
That's really the only question I had on that.
Right, and I can double check that and certainly circle back with Arlene. The
Okay.
planting, but, I mean, the plantings were done, and they're more of a mix of ornamentals and natives there. But they've just been really cut back to, a lot of them have been cut back to almost nothing. So, I can review that and I'll definitely follow up on that. I'm sorry, I don't have that.
Okay.
I know there's about a 50-50 mix
Yeah.
of perennials to shrubs, and I know they do cut the perennials back. And to be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to get out there, so.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I
I
have.
will check that.
Joanne, any comments?
Amy, can you refresh my memory? When the Walshes requested a roof over the landing to their dock,
Mhm.
and we said no,
Mhm.
on what basis did we say no?
It was because that was literally right on the water and it was covering,
That was on the bank.
yeah.
That was on the bank. This is a solid roof, this is not a pergola. It
That's
will-
correct.
And maybe I'm looking at the wrong, map, but whereabouts is the 50-foot line?
Oh, the 50-foot line runs through the house.
50-foot line runs through the house.
Yeah, this
So-
is a property that was developed in 1980,
Yeah, all flood zone too.
way
so,
before
yeah.
the buffers were
Mhm.
regulated as anything terribly important. So the project that was here a couple of years ago was to rebuild the then existing raised stone patios, and there was a little tweaking. They rounded the corners off, and where you see the pool, that was a solid surface before. But essentially, the hardscape that's here has been here for years.
Yeah, okay, I'm just, in my head, I'm just not sure whether I can count that as not a structure.
I think your regulations suggest that where hardscape is being built over the footprint of something that existed previously,
Oh.
it's approvable. And although I think that envisioned the old footprint being removed and it being replaced in exactly the same place.
Mm-hmm.
This is, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
vertical.
yeah,
But it is exactly over the footprint
I
of the
have
existing.
no trouble with the hardscape.
We don't really specify, we say, basically buildings, decks, patios, we consider them all hardscape.
Mhm.
So, yeah, if that's, since this wasn't expanding.
Yeah,
over-
no, I have no trouble with the hardscape. I just question whether putting a roof, full roof on doesn't turn it into a structure.
I think, stipulating that it's not to become habitable space. No walls, not a three-season, et cetera, in the future.
I know that in our office, as well as in Sandwich, where I'm on the commission, we're beginning to see more requests for roofs over outdoor living space because more people are concerned about sun exposure. They want to be outside, but they don't want the sun beating on them, and they prefer something that they don't have to take down in every day or every windstorm. So awnings are sort of going by the boards.
That's all.
I think maybe for the other project with the pergola, there was possible shading of some wetland plants close by. That was something we discussed.
Yes.
And that was the pergola was new, right?
Well,
Well, the platform was there.
The platform was
There
there.
was a platform leading onto the dock. It was
Right.
right on the bank.
Right. It was on the bank. Stan?
No, that was my question about the roof, because I thought this was gonna be similar to the other section of deck with the pergola over there, so. So it is a full roof, but no screening or anything
That's
else? Okay, that's all I have.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. I really don't either, other than noticing in the packet, you have a letter from June 9th, 1999 on, I guess, a case reference. Did you just remember that from,
That was one of my cases, and it was a big fight.
how about that? That goes back a ways, so.
And so do some of us.
Yeah, I know, you're right, but it's interesting that you could recall that application was similar to here, and you had that in your records.
I'm sure you've been on cases a long time ago where you can recall what happened as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we keep that one because this issue of whether it requires a permit comes up
Right.
periodically.
Yeah, it's useful to have that reference, so. Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the notice of intent for 19 Waquasit Road, covered patio.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Stan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
very much.
Thanks.
Okay, we have next a notice of intent for the town of Harwich for Hinckley's Pond treatment with alum, and they've requested a continuance to January 2nd, so I move that we do continue that hearing till the 2nd,
second?
January 2nd.
I second your
Oh,
motion.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, we skipped 17 Kildee.
Oh, I'm sorry. They are present?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay, next we have a notice of intent for 17 Kildee Road, proposal for a new septic system, retaining wall, and driveway addition.
For the record, Rick Judd of Moran Engineering, and behind us is Kathleen, the owner of the property. So the proposal we have before you is to upgrade a sewage disposal system. There's an existing tank and field that won't make separation of groundwater. It's a challenging site due to a variety of setbacks, the wetland, Doan River. We can certainly get the 50 feet away from all impact. There are a number of moving parts here. We have to have a raised system to satisfy Board of Health requirements, which will require a retaining wall. The retaining wall is going to cut into the existing parking, the only parking that we have on this property. So the twofold that we'll be looking at is the upgrade of the sewage disposal system before you, and then a pervious expansion both to the left or north and to the right, the south of parking, so that we can still maintain two off-street parking positions for cars. And again, that will be pervious. The site was staked. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the site. There is very little opportunity in here to capture a much better situation than the one, in my opinion, we have before you. The entire area is in an AE flood zone. The applicant has, on my application, I just want to stand corrected on the end of the second paragraph, last line. One tree must be removed from the leaching area footprint. That is actually a U. It's large enough to be a tree. It's massive, but it's a U. So just to be technically correct, it's not a tree. It is a U. At this time, I know you've been through this quite a few times, and you've been to the site. I'll take any questions through the chair that you may wish to ask of the project.
Thank you. Amy, do you have a summary for us?
Sure. As Rick said, this is a very difficult site, and it's good to have a septic upgrade. You have Jones Creek pretty much on 3 sides almost, 2.5 sides. It's all very, very low topographically too, very close to the groundwater. So you need that raised system. I think this is the most feasible, best alternative for the site. Like the pervious parking and the shed, I let the client know that the shed, we don't have record of the shed. So the shed is actually proposed to be moved a couple of feet. So what I would recommend is an after the fact, just administrative review. It's not brand new, but so it wasn't on the approved permit when this came to the Concom when the house was built. So I just recommend just to get it on our radar and in our records that they do an after the fact admin review for the shed, which is on blocks, I believe. So it's less than 100 square feet.
Yes, just for the record, the shed is 81 square feet. So the town requirements or regulations require that we be at a minimum 5 feet or greater. So we'll be greater than 5 feet from the property line to make both the requirements of the building or zoning department, and we will have access maintained below it, so there is open area below it.
With that, I recommend approval.
Yep. Quick question, Amy. The moving of the shed will be further away from the 50 line, or will it be?
It is closer.
It's close?
But it's in order to get the leach field in.
Yep.
Through the chair. If you see the word, I'm sure you do see it, the word shed, where the shed is, right where the letter E, you'll see a perforated line. That perforated line is actually the outline of the existing shed, so it's moving about 3 feet to the east, maybe 4 feet.
Yep. Is there any possibility to have it move over the footprint of the septic once that construction's all completed?
This will be plus or minus 2.8 to 3 feet above surface. It's a question worth asking, but it would not. We cannot put a permanent structure on top of the soil absorption system either.
Okay.
There's no place farther away on the lot either, really, to put it.
Yeah. I think if it did come before us originally, we'd probably try to find a way to not have it sitting right on the 50.
Right.
For the record, too, the home is on a crawl space, and as with any homeowner, we all accumulate lawn furniture, things of the like. They literally have no storage. Some of their items will not fit into the basement. So we had a discussion if this should stay or go, and quite frankly, they have no place to put what they currently have for outdoor storage, so we would respectfully request that you'd look upon that favorably.
Right. Okay, let's go through some questions. You want to start, Shin?
Yeah, seems like a pretty reasonable project. The only comment I have is if we could update in the order of conditions the lawn regulations.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's a pretty natural lawn anyway.
Is that something to be compatible with your clients to,
Would you like to direct your question to?
But we have updated lawn regulations for wetland resource areas that basically prohibit fertilizers and pesticides, herbicides. You can still mow and water, basically. But, yeah.
Through the chair, we agree to this. Yes,
okay,
certainly.
thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Carolyn?
I have no questions. The lot is very tight, and I don't see any other options.
No comments? No?
Okay. John? All set? And do we know when the shed was installed? Was that,
And I'll speak, and then I'll ask the owner to please speak. I believe when Kathleen took possession of the property, the shed was pre-existing, and she believed that it was permitted. I don't know if that's quite correct or not, but
Well, I didn't believe it was permanent, it's just
Oh.
one cinder block, so.
yeah, but it was there. Yeah,
I take good care of it though,
Yeah.
okay.
We know it's nice of you to stay and,
except for the back. I
Right.
can't reach the back.
Okay. Well, if there's no further questions, then I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, for 17 Kildee Road, to approve the notice of intent for a new septic system, retaining wall, and driveway additions.
I'll second.
Yep. And with the order that Jim proposed, condition.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you,
This will be
members.
on, just the orders and conditions will be at our next meeting, so.
Thank you.
The permit will be ready probably by, let's see, our next meeting, second, probably by the fourth.
Okay.
Permit will be ready.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
There's no restrictions on beginning excavation, because
You can't start until you have this and have
no, I
it recorded.
understand that, but due to weather or anything like that, can it be done in the winter?
Oh, yes,
Thank
sorry,
you.
yep. Take a cookie or do
Thank you.
it. I'm serious.
Okay,
Honey for everybody.
well, yeah,
Gotta open them up. They're not too tight.
that's right. There we go. So, we're on the books to have continued the Hinckley's Pond already, right? That's good to go? That's
Yep, you already
continued?
continued Hinckley.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the next notice of intent is for the Weeks property at 116 South Street. Proposal to store 800 lobster traps from November 1st to May 31st.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, these are beauties. Wow. And
Please feel free.
they have requested to continue to January 2nd, 2019, so I move that we do so. Do I have a second? Seconded by John. All those in favor say,
Can you propose it since you're
Oh.
abstaining on this one?
question
Yeah,
for,
no. If we have a, oh, well,
Well,
yeah, okay,
need somebody to do it, so
Well, I'll-
somebody can
well-
first and second.
then I
and
withdraw
that's
my proposal, my
Yeah.
motion, and I would allow someone else to make it, okay?
I propose a motion to continue 116 South Street to January 2nd.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Two abstentions.
302.
Yep.
Good.
Okay,
I mean, there's no other way about it anyways.
right, okay. All right, next we have the notice of intent for the Vale property of 85 Subquantum Road. Proposal to rebuild a bulkhead and boathouse with dock construction, access path, stair relocation, tree cutting, and site restoration. The applicant has requested to continue till January 2nd, 2019. I move that we do so. And we have a second?
I second it.
Stan seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
We haven't heard back from Heritage for either Hinckley or this one, so, you know, after the holiday, I'll probably give them a phone call, at least on the town's part, to see what's
Right.
going on.
And it may not move because, you know, there's only so many days people will be working in the next week or so. Yeah. Okay.
We filed it, I know they give themselves 60 days now, but probably over 30 days, so.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see. So next is a notice of intent for Davenport Companies for 0 Main Street. Proposal to construct a 2-family dwelling.
What happened to Subquantum?
We just Move, continue it.
I thought we were moving to continue the week.
We did that too.
Good.
Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Kieran Healy. I'm a land surveyor with the BSC Group, representing the Davenport companies. With me tonight is Christian Davenport, one of the owners of the Davenport companies. We are proposing a building in the area at number 375 Main Street. What we're looking to do is construct a two-family dwelling in this area. There are wetlands on the property, and there is a river on the property. Because of the riverfront, we are allowed to disturb up to 5,000 square feet, and we have, isolated all of our disturbance to the northwest corner of the property, primarily because the riverfront line runs in this section right here. So anything we do to the west of that would be outside of the riverfront disturbance area. Also, because of the river, we're holding as much distance as we can to that. Our driveway, which is the closest point to wetlands, is 103 feet to the wetland here. There is a non-jurisdictional wetland in this area, and we are more than 53 feet to that non-jurisdictional wetland. To the river itself, we're 171 feet to the septic system and 172 feet to the closest corner of the deck of the building. The lot itself is 46,000 square feet, and there's over 44,000 square feet of upland. It's a pretty small disturbance of the area, and we're restricted to that because of the riverfront. Again, so what we're looking to do is just basically building and the driveway and the joint septic system, common septic system. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the Commission.
Thank you. Amy, any thoughts for us?
They are greater than 100 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland, and so what they are dealing with is just the outer riparian zone, which is the 100 to 200 foot area from the mean high water line of the river. So it's a stream that connects the cranberry bogs, and it's used kind of as an outlet flow for flows from the bogs, but it meets the definition of a perennial stream, so that's afforded riverfront protection. The wetland that you see, the isolated wetland up by the road, that's 617 square feet. I did investigate that and walked around it, and it is truly an isolated wetland. There's no flow to the border vegetated wetland. There's no flow. There's no pipes under the road, etc. And our minimum requirement for wetland size is 3,000 square feet. The act is 5,000. So the only thing, and I put it in an email to both to Kieran, is the mitigation requirement for working in a riverfront area, and they are. I think you've met the other standards. You're less than 5,000 square feet. You're outside. You provided the 100 feet of undisturbed vegetation, but the regulations require 2 to 1 for disturbance in the outer riparian zone, and you're proposing the existing dirt road to naturalize. I was hoping you could quantify this, and also I think because it's so hard packed, it'll need maybe a little assistance naturalizing, either roughing it up a little bit, adding a little bit of material, doing some plantings, and I think that will also serve to be a good neighbor to the other properties, so people aren't, walking down and trespassing on other properties. So.
I would say that we would not have a problem with that. From a roughing up point of view, we can just put the claws of a excavator right on the front of it and just drag them back, and that'll break it up and loosen the hard pack any hard pack that might be there. As far as plantings, I mean.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we may want to, getting back to quantifying our regulations in our wetland protection regulations stipulate a 2-to-1 mitigation for the disturbance in the outer riparian. So quantify, again, you say you're going to let it naturalize, but how big, what's square footage kind of that area related to your 4,950 square feet of disturbance, It is something the commission can grant a variance for, given that this lot is extremely tight, that they've kind of squished everything up to the top and kept everything pretty tight.
And to put things in perspective, that area of roadway is approximately 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. The only way we could add double the 4,900 would be 9,000 square feet. There's just no space on the lot to fit that kind of mitigation. I mean, the whole area is wooded, and we're going to hopefully leave it just as it is. So we'd have to disturb area to add mitigation, and to us, it just didn't make sense to do that. The question is, would we need a variance from you to go do it in that manner?
No plans to expand existing lawn area into the wooded
No
area
lawn there
Good.
anymore.
behind
It's
the
a
house?
virgin lot. There's no house there.
Oh.
It's-
Okay,
So, yeah, it's a virgin lot.
I didn't make it there.
Yeah, we disturbed the bare minimum to have the decks, the septic tank, and then the leaching area as close to the building, 10 feet off of the sideline. So we're disturbing the bare minimum we can to fit. You can see the size of the driveways, how we basically have one spot for a turnout and one spot for a turnout. So we've tried to minimize all of the disturbance.
Yep. What do you think of the concept of a vegetated buffer strip along that footprint? Is that something that would, you're not going to reach the square footage?
Along the edge of clearing, kind of almost like,
Yeah,
well, I was thinking actually of maybe a few boulders actually to be kind of a visual barrier, like intermittently, not formalized, but also we could do with plantings as well, again, to be like a living fence to just show people that, you're not supposed to be past that area. And I can work with them as far as we kind of match the plants that are in that community currently.
Yeah.
It's very treed, but you do have some shrub vegetation.
What type of trees?
It's a mix of oaks, white pines, and pitch pines. It's kind of your typical upland. Very few invasives on the site.
Yeah.
Great. And we were talking on site a little bit when we did our site visit today that maybe something is possible again down the dirt roads to maybe add a couple of trees, tree saplings, or that'll grow up and naturalize that area better.
And we would not have a problem with
Any
planting trees.
preferences with those ideas to what you'd like to see?
No problem at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would need a variance?
It does need a variance from our
Yep.
regulations, and I think, a lot of times when our regulations, we're dealing with, it's really meant, the Wetlands Protection Act stipulates between, undisturbed lots versus disturbed lots. Our regulation, in riverfront areas, our regulations don't go into that detail, so we just have the kind of the boilerplate 2-to-1. But as they stated, I don't think they can, there's not room to do that. Given, and they've kind of pushed it and kept things as consolidated as they can, up in the corner of the lot there. I don't think what they're gonna be doing is gonna have an impact to that, to the stream or to the bus.
All right, well, let's go around the table and see what commissioners have to say. Jim, do you have any thoughts?
Sure, yeah, I'd just like to see several shrubs and maybe several trees planted on the roadway there. Maybe some quantified number, 12 shrubs and 8 trees or something like that. I'm not sure if it's that great of there is a fair amount of low growth on the road itself, so if you're gonna dig it all up with a machine, then it needs to be a serious planting thing, otherwise it's gonna erode, I think. So there could just be some shrubs and trees planted, spot planted, and I think that they would probably grow in.
That makes sense.
But if we're gonna dig it all up, it needs to be ground cover and
Right.
shrubs and everything else.
We're
But,
talking about assisting the natural progression here.
right.
Yeah,
But
and-
maybe a
Come up with some
a
numbers.
few larger white pines, like 6 foot or something, just to kind of start that barrier and keep it from, becoming a road as soon as the people move in the houses.
Well, the only purpose for the road was to get to the cranberry bogs, the farther south.
Right.
So the future people who live here will not have a desire for any vehicles or anything like that to go down there.
Well, even just, as trampling it or whatever, just to kind of create the buffer zone there.
It becomes, it's a road, if you will, it becomes an attractive nuisance.
A pathway to somewhere.
Huh?
A pathway to somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we're trying to keep people out of the disturbed zone.
So, yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks.
I think once, as you said, Jim, once you chop up that hard-packed road, since it does go downhill all the way, I think there needs to be plantings to hold it in place. And we need to have that quantified, don't we?
Yeah, I can sit down tomorrow and talk with you folks, or just come up with a sensible number of plants to put in there based on the width of the road and the length of the road there.
I think that's what it has to be based on, as opposed to our usual 2 to 1,
Correct.
because there's no sense,
Right.
if
I
you don't
would
want to
agree with you.
disturb something to plant something new.
One other option would be for us just to spot the stub where we're going to plant,
That's
and not
what-
actually grade the entire area, which
Right.
would be more supportive, shall we say, and less chance of anything running off and down there. So we could basically plant just in those areas and not disturb the entire roadway.
That makes sense.
That's all.
Yeah, that was my question, because again, our concern was more to not have a pathway going through there. We don't necessarily
Renaturalize, yeah.
re-till the whole road up or anything,
Yeah.
but like you say, just a couple of spots. And is that what you were suggesting, with some kind of maybe rocks in areas too,
I was
for the
thinking,
roadway?
really where it says edge of proposed edge of clearing, either with, plants or maybe stones. We've done both in the past, like 2-man stones, or we've done almost like a, living fence, if you
Right.
will, that tells people, this is where your lawnmower has to stop, et cetera, So I was thinking along this proposed edge of clearing. And, it's up to the commission if you'd like to see a mix of the two, or just, kind of, a row of a little bit denser plants than you would see in the forested areas. It's up to you what you'd like to see.
Is
Yeah.
this going to be rental or condominiums? Rentals.
It's duplexes.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
duplex, right?
but I didn't know if
Right.
it was, if eventually down the road it could be condomized, whatever the verb is.
No plans of that at this point.
No plans at this point.
But yeah, again, going back to along with yours, I'd minimize what we do to that road, just to create some barrier so that it's not used as a road. That's all I have.
So what's inside the proposed edge of clearing, that is going to be lawn out where it's not drive? Is that specified here?
It's not specified.
It's not specified, but it would be lawn. Part of the reason is with the septic tank and the septic leaching field and the propane tank, we can't actually plant anything in those areas. I know there's other space where we could plant, but it would probably be, the woods are going to be close to the building, so we need some sort of place for kids to go outside. So that would be lawn.
So we would abide by our lawn regulations.
And we're familiar with those.
So my only other question, again, we're focusing on the dirt road, but my other question about the dirt road, given the way it is, which it's worn, either at some point someone dug that out or it's just worn it looks like an access road to the bog where they were probably loading cranberries or something down there. But it's deeply rutted, and so my question is whether there isn't a runoff problem there that would exaggerate erosion problems. That is, when there's a heavy rainfall, whether all the runoff from up at the upper end of the lot would end up going down there and causing erosion. So I guess I
On
would
Friday.
just...
We could go look
Yeah,
at
we
it.
should, yeah. we
If
should
anybody
just,
wants to take a ride, I'm going out of town, but if somebody wants
Just
to take a
bring your
ride on
rain
Friday
gear.
when we get the deluge.
I'll bring my wetsuit.
All right, you go ahead.
No, it's a serious question. To
I
do a bunch
know.
of planting there,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure what,
Yeah.
what the right thing would be to do about it, but that is just
I
a
think,
concern.
yeah, we probably should see it, how it behaves. You don't want the plantings not to survive, and you don't want, let me see what it's like.
If we request plantings there, how would they be able to be watered?
Temporary irrigation?
With a line from the new house?
You can do that, or those bags for the trees.
Yeah.
We do most of our landscape construction in-house, so.
I don't think we're talking a huge number, like Jim said, I mean, I'll crunch them tomorrow, but something along the lines of 8 to 10 trees, maybe kind of down the middle of the road area a little bit, and then maybe 10 to 12 shrubs or something. But it's not a huge area.
All set? Okay. Just a couple questions, and this is just my ignorance on the riverfront area. So you're allowed 5,000 square feet of disturbance, and you're under that. So I guess I missed what had to be mitigated for. What?
In our regulations,
Okay,
our regulations require a 2-to-1 mitigation.
in that outer zone.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And so I'm not that familiar with the variance language for that riverfront area. Is there anything in that language that, we should be concerned about, or we good standing with that variance language?
It's pretty much the same language that we have for mitigation in the 0 to 50 or 50 to 100. The commission can grant a variance if the activity is not going to have a negative impact.
Right.
I mean, in this case, they don't have an area to mitigate. So.
Right. Yeah, that's why I asked, because,
A lot of people come in and say they want to disturb more, let's try to put some area back, and some, we see that, it's not the case. So. You can't really do more than that here, because you are limited to 5,000 square feet, or 10%, which is
Less than
5,000 for this one. So,
10% would be less, so.
Yeah. Whichever is greater.
Right. Okay. Do people want to see the planting plan before we rule on this?
I could have it for you before, like in the draft orders and conditions. I'm sure we can work it out in the next few days.
People comfortable with that?
Yeah, if we could see it with the conditions.
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, if we have a motion, we can move forward.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for construction of 2-family dwelling on 0 Main Street.
Second it?
Second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Just two things. Since we originally applied, the engineering department gave us a street number, so they've listed it now as number 375 Main Street. So we finally
As
got that
opposed to
from them.
0.
Just make it easier for the future.
Okay.
And then, secondly, do I need an official vote on the variance?
I don't know.
You can either amend your motion if you like, or you can, it was the intent of the commission to grant the variance. Or you can make a separate motion to grant the
Who made
variance.
the motion?
I did.
Okay, why don't you amend that, please, to include a variance to our regulations.
Right, under the Harwich Wetland Protection
Okay,
Regulations.
it does, okay. I'll make a motion to grant a variance to 375 Main Street for the construction of a 2-family dwelling with the conditions that we discussed.
Okay.
Variance to not require the 2-to-1 mitigation plan.
That's the variance we're doing. Oh,
Not require the full 2-to-1.
okay, with the conditions we discussed.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
All right, second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So-
keep in touch.
Wow.
Cool.
Holy cow, so you through our hearings, right? Wow.
We are.
Holy cow.
Certificates of compliance.
That's one I wish I had read, the variance language.
It's our present to you. Merry Christmas. Early night. hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the Riverfront Act provides pretty good protection, which is nice,
Yeah.
with that 10%.
On an undeveloped lot, a newly created undeveloped lot, the regulation is you can only develop 5,000 square feet of the riverfront area, or 10% of the riverfront area on the lot, whichever is greater.
No, wasn't some of that house outside of the river?
It was, yes, so that didn't count.
Okay, so the 4,900, he was
Was within.
within. Okay, that's
And
what I
that-
wanted to
that-
clarify.
Right, that's structure, driveway, deck, all that stuff combined, it's not just house.
Right.
It's the,
Basically
it's
disturbed
the,
area.
it's the clearing, yeah.
It's the clearing,
it's the
yeah.
clearing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, I need to read that language and just become comfortable with it.
Well, it's tough because everything is situational. If you have a lot that's created prior to 1996, then it's different
Right.
than a lot after. And then if you have existing development, it's
Right. It probably
pretty
said,
specific.
and it probably says something to do with demonstrated impacts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if there are no impacts, then the variance would be in good standing. And so, but it's, yeah, that's gonna be in our not in our regs.
The 2-to-1,
Is in the bylaw or in the regs?
the regs.
In the regs, okay. All right, I'm gonna bone up on that at some point. All right.
I certainly had to brush up.
Yeah, it doesn't come up that often.
No. All right. We have 2 requests for certs of compliance. One of them's not ready yet. Timothy White, 45 Green Road. Footprint of the house and the hardscape area compliance. There's a section that's supposed to be, this is from Nikki, a mix of native plantings including holly, bayberry, Virginia rose, and some blue stem grasses. The bed only contains some grass and 2 hydrangeas that have been approved to the ground. So, we are working with the owner to rectify the issue with some replanting that will need to be done in the spring. So I just recommend just no action on that one right now. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
The next one is Donald and Cindy Eldridge for 90 North Road. It was for construction of a new home, within the 50 to 100 foot buffer going to a salt marsh and within the outer red area going to the riverfront. It also included creation of a vista by, within virgin lot, removal of 2 trees, the pruning of lower limbs off some others, and pruning down of shrubs within a window of no less than 3 feet. So only 2 trees were removed. I visited the site pretty often. Every time they had a question, they were really good about calling and vetting things. And so it was no surprise that they're in compliance. They do not have any irrigation within the 100-foot buffer. They have some out front. And that's within the river's front area, but not within the 100-foot buffer to the wetland. We allowed that. They're not doing any chemical application. She's a master gardener, the wife. So, pruning came out great. The house, the driveway's pervious, the roof runoff goes to dry wells. It was another one of those ones where instead of requiring a lot of planting, we just minimized the footprint of disturbance around the house, to keep as much of it natural as possible. So I recommend a certificate of compliance for the Eldridges.
Okay. Well, I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 90 North Road.
I'll second.
Second that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
we don't have executive session minutes, we don't have any executive session, so just the August 1st minutes. I'm gonna pass this along too. We're gonna keep the condition about, natural lawn in this one. Just so you're aware, on the minutes from Mark Kelleher, they've officially deployed the first 3
Oh, they
lines.
have? Wow.
Lines, yeah. And they've seen start of growth on.
That's cool. That would be really interesting to see what happens out there.
Mm-hmm.
And get a crop and how well it works.
Yeah, he's gonna send me a video of deployment. I'll have to show it to you.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's just like thread that they're putting out there, but it's like impregnated with the seed.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's wild. Grows that fast. I don't have any comments on the minutes. They look good.
I don't either.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lots of certificate of compliances and a lot of business that day. We approved the reg changes that day, I guess. Was that long ago? Wow.
Well, they didn't become effective until October, and we gave people kind of a comment period.
Yep.
Anybody have a chance to go through them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody want to provide a motion on the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes for August 1st, 2018.
Second.
Stan seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Could be the fastest hearing to date.
I do have an announcement. It's kind of a save the date. The annual Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions Conference will be on Saturday, March 2nd, up at Holy Cross. Unfortunately, it again falls on budget hearing day for me.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if I'll be able to go yet. That remains to be seen. But if anybody once it becomes, so to say the day right now, once they put out the registration, you all are enrolled for MACC, which by the way, there's a lot of online resources that if you're already signed up, we paid for you to be members. There are a lot of online tools and training. I was looking into them today. Feel free to go into them. And if you have any problems, let me know about getting in. But if you can go to the conference, it's great. There's usually you can knock off a couple of fundamental courses in one day. And there's just, it's just kind of cool to see the variety of disciplines, so just the variety of projects throughout the state. Different technologies, there's a lot of vendors there. So it's just always a good day. It's usually always freezing cold and or snowing.
Yeah.
at Holy Cross on the
First week of
Saturday.
March.
Yeah.
We have
Starts
had the
early.
storm the day before, the night before,
Yeah.
and there were tree clearings along 495.
Yeah. We will pay, we pay for your membership, but we also pay for you to go. It costs about $100 for the day to go. So, once the schedule comes out, if anybody wants to, we're happy to sign up and carpool down.
It's a great venue. In a perfect world, I'd go every year, but it is a Saturday, and it's in Worcester, so you have to figure it out with everything else going on. But
They
it's
do try to, at least, it really is the central part of the state. They do as best as they can.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of people from the western part of the state coming.
Yeah,
More
it's,
and more, actually.
I'm amazed at the people you'll meet there from the different commissions. And,
It's always a good representation from the Cape.
yeah,
Actually, a lot of the presenters.
yeah. And you can ask around and find out how different commissions are compensated. And it's surprising, some are, many are not, but there's some that they get a nice little chunk of change, which is interesting.
A lot of them don't even have an administrator. They just operate solely on their own.
Right. Can you
Well, I
imagine
mean,
that?
from small communities that have really no wetlands, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
Thank God we
I know.
have you.
Oh,
I
thanks.
can't imagine. I've worked with some small towns where the chair he just takes it on.
Yeah,
And he's doing all that paperwork,
Yeah.
and
It's
it's
a lot.
just, and in that case, he might have a stipend, they might give him a little bit.
right.
But the biggest stipend I've seen, I think, is Winchester had $3,000 a year. And more often than not, it's $800 or $1,200, so. But I'd say most have none.
Yeah. And the Cape is, and the shore, the coast is, we all do, everyone has one, has somebody, because you just kind of have to.
Yeah.
You have so much you have to do.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're lucky to have an assistant, too.
Yes. All right, so that was my announcement, and so it's looking, let's talk about January. So, no for January. Unfortunately, Paul is not gonna be back till the end of January, so, so I would assume the first meeting in February will be the first meeting back. So,
Mhm.
no for January 2nd is Paula, Carolyn, most likely Brad.
Yeah, we're heading off Cape to go skiing, and it's gonna be somewhere in that week, and I'll find out as quickly as I can when we're
That's
going.
fine. There's several, I mean, so that leaves us with the four. And I know a couple people are maybes, or at least one other person
Aren't your
may
kids
be
back
on
in
that.
school
No,
We're not gonna have a quorum for
No,
some,
they were
at
off
least some of the hearings.
that whole time, I believe.
Well,
then? Oh, I
there'd
thought
be
school
at
was
least
going
one,
back January
the one
2nd.
from,
Harwich's.
Really?
South
I think
Street
I saw
won't
it
be
on
able
the
to
sign.
go.
Yeah, I think that's not typical. That would change when we
oh,
go.
that's for sure.
But, yeah.
Is that South Street?
I'm taking that the whole
Continue
week
South
off.
Street
Yeah,
tonight.
because you'd be abstaining, so we'd
I
be
think-
down to
I
three
thought I
at the
saw it.
max.
And Carolyn, we would need for a vote.
Hold that up.
He would be there. Yeah.
I thought
No,
I
that's what
saw
I'm saying.
that
No,
on the sign
she wouldn't
outside.
be here, so there'd
the
only be
elementary
Mark,
There's not.
John, me, and Jim, so, and you'd be abstaining, so
I'd
we,
be abstaining.
The holiday's
Right.
on Monday, right?
Right.
Tuesday.
It's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So they'd go back for the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Let me, and Jim, you're gonna be here?
Yes, I should be here.
Okay. John, you're here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let me, look through our agenda.
Do I what? Monomoy Regional School District.
We
probably.
may, if we have
My
four,
school's Harwich.
then we can still have a meeting and get some things done. Some, at least some of the new things are the things that we don't have quorum issues with. So we'll probably still have a meeting if we have
Yeah.
four.
Is anybody limited on an 85 Subquantum to voting? Because they came on, John's all set with
I have
that.
to look and see who was present for all, because both, so all 6 South Street, 85 Sequotum, and Hinckley, they'll have numerous hearings.
Mhm.
So even if we have 4 people, if any of the people who can come miss more than one hearing, I can't
Mhm.
vote. So
Right.
I'll look tomorrow. And obviously let the applicants know as soon as I possibly can about it.
Mhm.
If we can't, I think, it's really hard to add another meeting like in the week between. Do you want to just put everything on the 16th?
Back to school. Wow.
There's no
How about that? Okay, then I'm not.
issues with
I'll
that,
probably
is
be here.
there? I remember, there's no issues with that as far as,
Thank you.
I remember last
Sorry.
year there was some-
Well, you
something
know what?
with.
I'm
well,
taking time
No.
off.
with deadline, within
You're
the
taking that week
deadline.
off anyway?
Right.
I think I am, yeah.
We would continue
Maybe
them
I'll
to a
work one
date
day or
certain.
something.
So that's what I'm saying, if we have a
Nice.
quorum,
Wow.
if we have a
Service
quorum,
center.
at least to have the new hearings who filed,
Right,
then we're also good.
okay.
Kids are back to school in the 2nd, confirmed, so
Oh,
I'm almost certainly here,
oh, okay.
so,
So Brad is here.
yeah. Well,
Lucky you.
I know.
The day after New
All right,
Year's, it
we
doesn't
should
sound.
be good.
I'm not a massive skiing fan of it anyway. I go along for the ride, so we'll see what happens with that.
I'll still go through all of those again because we have, so many that had numerous hearings. I want to make sure everyone's eligible.
Right,
If you miss one, you're fine, but if you miss more than one, you're not.
right.
Okay.
Can I just make one little point? I think it was very good that Jim mentioned the no herbicides, pesticides, et cetera, and the lawn treatment, and then you mentioned it in the second one. I think we should make sure that we mention that every time that comes up. We just, as in our heads, are going to start to assume that that's part of it because that
Jim
is
is mentioning it every time.
But I think we need to make sure that the applicant realizes it, because remember that,
Right.
that Soundview, they didn't expect
should
it, got
go.
upset with it.
Right.
As long as they know
Which
that
one
that's
is that? Soundview?
Soundview, the lawyer from Boston.
Vista pruning.
17 and 23
Yeah.
Soundview.
And we went back and there was fertilizer on the
Yeah.
That's
ground,
right, that's right. But
Yeah, he was very
that was
upset, he didn't.
disturbance, lawn disturbance. What about a case where it's pre-existing and they're not creating new lawn? They could object to it, right? And it'd be
We
pretty
now
hard.
have the regulation that if they come back to us for a new project,
New project.
we can say you have to go to a natural lawn program.
Wow, I didn't realize the language came out that way. Yeah, well, then-
Yes, it said that the commission may require you to do.
May, doesn't
May.
say shall or has to.
so then, yeah, communication's important to see,
I
do you object to this, condition?
Right.
And some people probably will if it's pre-existing. So that's we always want to make gains in this area, but I could see some folks objecting to that.
But your point is, they're coming before us for a new project.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the fact that they were pre-existing
Right.
before.
What if that new project had nothing to do with the lawn? Like this project
Wasn't
here
the way
had
it
very
was-
little to do with the lawn.
Wasn't
Yeah.
the way we phrased it something like, that it may be considered part of the mitigation?
I
And
think
0
so.
to 50, not the 50 to 100.
It's the whole 100-foot, and
It's
it's
the whole 100, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
and yeah, it doesn't say shall, but it says
Yeah, we
I'm- I'm not
we should look at
The
that.
commission has the authority, it said
Do you
something,
wanna
it was left it
Put
to
that
us.
on, so let's just do discussion items since we have, for upcoming meetings.
I think so, because I think there'll be cases where it's crystal clear with new development, and there'll be some pre-existing conditions where they're not going to disturb the lawn.
Review and discussion of regs.
They're working somewhere else in their property
Right.
within a jurisdiction. They're not proposing to disturb their lawn.
Mhm.
If the proponent didn't want to abide by that regulation, I don't know if they would be, they might be in
Well,
good standing.
I think on a couple of the ones we've been talking about, I didn't really interpret as necessarily disturbing lawn, but just a condition of how to treat the lawn.
Yeah, we basically just proposed it on each one, and they could object, and
Right.
it's in our regulations.
Mhm.
I don't know how it would hold up in court.
Yeah.
But
I think the thing to do is, like today, just ask them how they feel about that, and she had no concerns, and so,
Yep, and I mean, we're kind of trying to do our part in the whole,
Where's the-
wastewater situation that we're in with
Yeah.
the nutrient loading that we have, and
Mhm. Yeah.
hopefully kind of leading the town and saying, we really should be looking at something more of a town-wide regulation on
right,
chemical application.
Mhm.
yeah. It's one place where you can truly make gains
Yeah.
with the whole loading issue in productions, so. I think it's really good progress we have that in.
I'm gonna put Bell's Neck Bogs back on, and wanna look, I was talking with Mark came on site visits today, about, again, I have to remind myself, and I'm happy to send it all again to you, the manner in which we acquired that land, with
Yes.
Well, is that-
stipulations.
yeah.
Yeah, so I wrote myself a note, but right.
Right, yeah, that's a take-home note I made too, to revisit that language
Yep,
and see what it says.
Because I think Mark's point was necessarily how it was acquired, but the town vote
Right,
for the use of the land.
for the use of the land. Put it in, yeah, I'll resend that.
Yeah, that's
Around.
important, review that.
I'm not exactly sure for that particular piece.
Well,
'cause
Amy,
Bell's
when we
not-
were talking about it, there was a letter that council
Yeah,
summarized everything, kind of, as far as each parcel or each bog.
right, they're all, everything's a little different.
Yeah.
Bell's Neck is made up of so many pieces of land.
Yeah, the language, the intent, the funding was not the same for all of them, so there was sometimes directives. So,
Yep.
yeah, we should revisit that and have a good discussion.
I'm just gonna put it at the end of the agendas, and
Yeah.
Oh,
if we get to it, like,
We
if
could-
we had a slow night, we'll get to it.
and that was, I think this, because the other issue, he asked about potentially if you licensed, or, for not leasing the bog, but manage the bog.
License versus
As a
lease.
possibility. And I think that came up under those comments too, that were addressed by the lawyer, if I
Okay.
remember right.
I'll find those comments, it's just been a long time, and I can't remember clearly, so I don't
Right.
really wanna speak to it.
Yeah, I can't say for sure either. That would be our decision to do something different than a lease if we chose.
Okay?
All right, that sounds good. I'm trying to think. Other agenda items?
Anything with oyster reefs or?
I'm off for 2 weeks, and that's on my list of things to do at home. I'm gonna start to bring the narrative to a point where we can submit it for the Division Marine Fisheries permit as well as a notice of intent. So I'm not gonna say that I'll get to the end point, but I'm gonna put some time
But
to it.
that doesn't need to be added on the list, because that's
It'll
something
be
you're
a
working
hearing.
on. That's a hearing.
Yeah, I don't think, we could discuss it again if folks want to pre-review, but I think we've discussed it a couple times, and I think we like the concept. So it's really just actually putting it together and then working with you, I think, Amy, to make that happen.
Yeah, we've got a couple town projects that we'll work on in the next few weeks.
Yeah, so that's my goal for a couple weeks, to try to get something going and, get some momentum in that regard. I don't know if we have costs identified for everything we want to do, so that's going to be another point of discussion too, is how to fund it. But that's coming up.
Those are the big things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would be interested to see a report of some kind on the bog across from the property we looked at today. I'm not sure what the...
Was
what
that that one of our bogs?
It's
Yeah.
it's in the control of the Conservation Commission. Leo Kakunes runs it.
Yeah.
I haven't studied it that much. It doesn't appear like there's much. There might be some dry picking going on. Most of the bogs have naturalized, apparently.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of activity on the property as far as, well over a dozen vehicles. And I'm not sure what there's a building there, and it appears to be gated from the public. I'm just interested in
Yeah.
what that property is all
Sure.
about. It seems to
Yep.
maybe
Yeah, I think it's just called the Main Street Bogs,
right. Yeah.
and I don't have the lease on
and that
Yeah.
lease goes back quite a ways, so it's hard to say what was required.
Yeah, who knows, it may
It'd
be.
It'd be nice if there was an annual report on production activities, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
it. I don't think we can add conditions until the lease is up again,
Right.
but we can certainly make sure that regardless of, any of our bogs, that the conditions are being abided by that we have on the board. All right,
Where are you heading for the holidays?
I'm going to visit my folks in the Berkshires.
Oh, nice.
So you're in Berkshires.
In Chester, so it's not technically Berkshire County,
Yeah.
Should we-
Chester and Southampton.
Should
It's
we close
Hampshire.
our meeting?
Yeah, we should close, and actually I gotta get Caleb to stop, if we're just gonna chit chat.
Yeah, okay. Well, then I move that we close the hearing, adjourn for the night.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.